What if I told you almost 6 years ago, a private U.S. corporation hired a mercenary army to surreptitiously come into this country and begin destroying lives from the inside out? Would you believe me? And then what if I told you that that particular corporation can no longer afford to pay these mercenaries, and so now they're having to send them home? And they're not taking it all that well. Well, stick around in today's video. I think you're going to want to see this. Many people have seen this wood carving and picture of George Washington crossing the Delaware to liberate Trenton. What a lot of people don't know is that Trenton at that time was occupied by a German Hessian mercenary force that had been hired by the British. And that's who they were going to defeat. Now, real quick, what if I told you, two of the victims of that private mercenary army? Things are not going well for Google. But real quick, would like to say thank you once again to everyone who continues to join us here at the Florida Maquis YouTube channel, and especially those of you who have continued to sign up over at the Patreon channel, where we can talk about things a lot like this in a gloves-off manner. I was going to do this video at Patreon, but I think it's too important. I think everybody needs to see this, because now the truth has come out. Now it's being revealed what the real story was, and that they failed. And they don't want you to know they failed. You see, they're warning of some huge catastrophe to come. But truly, the Patriot Nurse on the left, Jennifer Veterans for Truth, two of my favorite channels here on YouTube, were victims of that mercenary army hired by Google to come in. They called them a trust and safety team to begin analyzing videos and restricting freedom of speech. You see, they had to hire the foreign forces to come in and be part of their trust and safety team, because places like India, Pakistan, China, Iran, you see, they've never lived in a land of liberty. They've never lived in a place that had a constitution or protections like that. So it was easy for them to be trained to destroy people's lives. Jennifer Veterans for Truth lost all monetization on her channel whatsoever, and the Patriot Nurse has suffered multiple waves. I don't think they've completely demonetized her channel yet, but it's cost both of them, and I'm estimating here, I don't know their personal financial situations, but based on what I do know, it has to be in the tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. But they've lost. It was too late for Jennifer for Veterans for Truth. The Patriot Nurse has suffered greatly, but this is the reality. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sows, that shall he also reap. Galatians 6 and 7. You see, they don't read the Bible much in places like India, Pakistan, China. King James Version, Luke 6 and 38. For with the same measure that ye mete withal, it shall be measured to you again. And again in Matthew, therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them, for this is the law and the prophets. Florida Maquis, many are saying, where's your proof of this? Where's your proof? Well, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the warnings being plastered all over. Americans warned of financial catastrophe. The country faces a recession if it defaults on its debt, the Treasury Secretary has said. Quote, it makes me nervous. It would be devastating. It's a catastrophe, Yellen told Axios News. We'll have a financial crisis, and I believe we would have recession in the United States. Spending would have to decline, pay attention here, to match tax revenues. Wait, the government would actually have to only spend what it earned? Be still my beating heart, say it isn't so. Oh, but furthermore, psychological consequences, like people fearing to spend money. You see, this popped up in my feed late one night. A Google employee of 11 years says he and his wife stared at each other in disbelief when they realized they'd both been laid off by the company. He has no idea. You see, back when Trump got elected, back in 16 and 17, ask any YouTuber. That's when the big demonetization wave hit. But you have to ask, How did they have the ability to do this? Well, they had to hire thousands and thousands and thousands of basically Hessian mercenaries and put them to task of seeking out conservative voices on their platforms and begin slowly finding make-believe magical reasons to demonetize them and take down the channels. Well, guess what? A Google engineer says survivors of the mass layoffs cried in meetings today around 12,000 of their colleagues were Good. Good. Were you crying when you were taking down all sorts of channels talking about all sorts of liberty-based topics in North America? No, because you've never experienced it for yourself. You see, Google couldn't get Americans to do that job. You see, this is what they don't want you to know. They couldn't hire enough North Americans to go in and watch the videos and demonetize and take down the channels. Because and this is going back to 17, now they might be able to do it now, but back in 17, they couldn't even find enough liberals who would sign up to do what they were asking them to do, because they would say, look, we don't like the conservatives in Florida. We don't like the Republicans. We don't like the DeSantis supporters. We don't like the gun crowd. We don't like this group of people. But we live in a country that has a constitution. And as much as I don't like what they're saying, our constitution protects their right to say things I don't agree with. Just like it protects my right to say things here in California and Washington and Minnesota and Chicago and that the conservatives don't agree with. It's part of our... We see that wasn't good enough for Google. That was not good enough for Google. And this is an old story. Plato, dictatorship naturally arises out of democracy, and the most aggravated form of tyranny and slavery out of the most extreme liberty, which is what this country had. Henry George, the protection of the masses, has in all times been the pretense of tyranny, the protection of the masses. See, that was what the Google folks were telling all of these Indians and Pakistanis and Iranians and Chinese that they were hiring to be part of their trust and safety team. That was how they hid it. The protection of the masses has in all times been the pretense of tyranny, the plea of monarchy, of aristocracy, of special privilege of every kind. The slave owners justified slavery as protecting the slaves. Now, does this image make sense? You see, in a country where you would ban or prohibit somebody from doing something you morally might have a problem with, you no longer have liberty. You no longer have freedom. You no longer have what our founding fathers fought for. You don't have to like it. It might bother you. You might not even tune into my channel because you might see an image that might be disagreeable, but understand something. The fact that it's out there, the things you disagree with, and that they can be seen, and those who do agree with or don't have a problem with the imagery, that they can partake, you know you live in a land of liberty. That's the key. There will be those voicing opinions you don't like, both on the left and on the right. You may not want to see it. I think it's horrible in the NFL. You just want to watch a football game, and you see all the garbage messages on the back of their helmets and printed in the end zones about all of their little woke nonsense. But you know what? If they want to wear that stuff on their uniforms and they want to print it on the field, fine. I'll watch a football game. I'll just put it out of my mind. If it gets too bad, I'll change the channel or turn it off, go do something else. But you see, all this talk of the economy getting bad and Google having to lay people off. And what did Elon Musk do when he went over to Twitter? Got rid of all of those people that were there basically to do what? To censor. That's it. Oh, it's going to cost all this ad revenue. Fine. Every cloud has a silver lining. You see, this was the key. See, the Hessians didn't care. The Hessians had no dog in the fight. They had no skin in the game. They just wanted the money. The Germans couldn't have cared less about who was paying taxes to whom on what from the colonies in Great Britain. The Germans didn't care. The Germans did not care. But when the British started throwing out a bunch of gold and saying, hey, go see this group of people over here, go shoot them. Okay, all right, that's fine. So they went and took Trenton. And that's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what happened here. When the big demonetization wave hit, back in 17, Google hired a foreign mercenary army to come in and do destruction and do damage. And I don't normally quote the same video from the same person in 2 days straight in videos, but the title of this video that she did yesterday, the Patriot Nurse, Love Freedom? Love freedom? Guess who deems you a danger? And this was their whole basis. This is what Google's idea was. We need to protect the American people, largely on behalf of the government. So we're going to hire all these foreign folks to come in and shut people up. So no, I know it says that, we should love our enemies and pray for enemies. A Google engineer says, survivors cried. I don't care that they cried. I don't care that they cried. They weren't crying when they were costing thousands and thousands of people their jobs over the last 6 and 7 years in America because they just wanted to speak their minds. They didn't care that they were destroying our constitutional values. They did not care one bit when they were doing this. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the videos the Patriot Nurse has done where she's talked about these. In fact, it was just a little over a year ago, I think it was, that they hit her with another huge wave of videos that were perfectly fine for years and years and years. And they've done this to me too, by the way. I've not been immune to this, but I haven't suffered at the level that definitely Jennifer Veterans for Truth has suffered, or the Patriot Nurse. I've had quite a few videos taken down, and I had 2 separate 1-week suspensions for allowing things to be said that the mercenary army didn't think was correct. But what's happened to them has been just off the charts. Absolutely horrible. So if you want to see where the real threat is, find out who they won't allow to say anything at all. Now, Jennifer Veterans for Truth still has a channel, and she can speak, but no super chats, no ads, nothing like that. And Patriot Nurse, I don't know how, she's been on YouTube for a dozen years, and I forget how many waves that they've hit her with, where videos were fine, videos were perfectly okay, and then boom, one day they're not, and they're gone. And then a new standard is put in place, and the videos are fine, and then 2 years later, they're not. They just make believe up crap out of the top of their heads about what they like and what they don't like. But truly, it's a good day. It's a good day. You say, how can you say financial catastrophe and all this good day? It's a good day. It's a good day because they're not immune from it. They've run out of money. They have run out of money to shut the people up that they don't agree with. And now they're between a rock and a hard place because they need content creators. Let me say this again. YouTube needs content creators. Because that's what, I know a lot of people don't like all the ads, but that's what makes it free. That's why it's always been. And that's why over at the Patreon channel, it's $1, because you don't see ads over there, do you? You can watch a 20, 25, 30-minute video from the Florida Maquis without a single ad. For $1. For $1 a month. That's all it costs. If I had even a fraction of the amount of subscribers that I had here at YouTube, over there at Patreon, at $1 a month, I wouldn't even be worrying about talking about Google. At all. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. They're keeping it hidden. And you out there know people who have suffered. And have suffered horribly, horribly because of it. This mercenary army that was hired by Google, a private U.S. corporation. But the day has come. That old wheel as Johnny Cash and Hank Williams Jr. sang, that old wheel is going to roll around once more, and when it does, it's going to even up the score. Don't be weak. As they sow, they shall reap. Turn the other cheek and don't give in. That old wheel is going to roll around again. God bless. Happy Sunday. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.